So thank you very much, Libby and Geoff from Momento Pro. If everyone can pop their webcams on and keep your microphone on mute, that would be amazing. It's a nice small group today, so I think that, yes, we can see Jessica now. Yeah, if you want to let us know where you're from, that would be great as well. And if you want to let us know what you'd like to see the most out of today, that would be awesome. The session is interactive, so if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat window. But again, it's a small group, so you can just interject at any time, I think, which will be fine as well. The intended flow is that we're going to go through albums, photo books, talk about design tools, sales tips and tools, and then we'll open the floor up for some questions and answers as well. And I'm Jannah from Album Registry. I think everyone knows me as well. We do gorgeous photo gift registries where friends and family can pitch in towards the cost of your professional photo print products and services offered by you from anywhere around the world. We do a Friday lunchtime chit chat at 12:30 every Friday. If you'd like to jump onto that one at any point, I will send a link out to that as well. So the session is being recorded. We will publish the session and make the link available to other participants as well. So without further ado, if you could please pop on Libby's window, right click and hit the pin video option, and then she will be your main screen for the session. Now I've got to, how do I get off?
Oh, that's how you do it.
Yeah, no, it's so good to know. Thank you, Jannah. I'm learning already.
No worries. I'm going to do that as well. Pin video, take it away.
Alrighty. Well, because it's so intimate, it feels like that Geoff and I are welcoming you into our living room. But officially, this is the Momento Pro boardroom and showroom. So we've set up, Geoff, could you just lean back so people can see how beautifully I've laid out our selection here? So this can be kind of like a virtual showroom session, I think. I've always wanted to do one. So thanks again, Jannah. You're making me do something I've wanted to do for a while. So yes, we're 100% Australian owned and made. It's Geoff and my baby, with our third partner, James Whitwell, who harks from Canberra. Just for a little bit of background to tell you why we're qualified to be doing something like this. We three, me, Geoff and James, all had a background in technology, interactive multimedia in the heydays of CD-ROM production. But Geoff's a geek. So is James. I'm not, so please direct any technical questions to Geoff, and I'll answer all the product and kind of marketing and sales questions. But we had skills in, the royal we had skills in software design. So we created software that allowed anyone, regardless of creative skills or computer skills, to be able to lay out a photo book. So that was way back in 2004. And from there, we ended up getting demand from the professional wedding and portrait photographer community to establish a range that was exclusive to portrait and wedding photographers. So that developed, I believe, in 2005. And that's where we have introduced our photo books in different sizes. We also have introduced flush mount albums, which we'll talk about, and we also have stationery products. But you can see a selection behind us here. To be specific, we have about 12 different photo book sizes, 12 albums.
8 album sizes at the moment.
8 album sizes.
Aiming for 12.
Yes, aiming for 12. Geoff might mention a little bit more about that later. And then we have cards, calendars, diaries, and notebooks that we make available in our stationery range as well. So, yes, Momento Pro, 100% Australian made. Everything is made here downstairs in our production facility. And
we're in Sydney, not far from the CBD. So if you're coming in from the airport, when restrictions are lifted, we're right on the way back from the airport to the city. So drop in and say hi.
Yeah, and maybe this is an appropriate moment to just jump in and show you how the books are made. I'll show you one and introduce you to some of the staff who are all downstairs now. So give me just one moment. I will, please let me know if you're seeing that, and we will jump to, I haven't quite mastered the seamless transition to video yet, so bear with me. But these are the fabulous people who do make our books.
Are you seeing the video screen?
Hold on. You guys seeing that?
Hi, I'm Libby from Momento. This is Geoff, my partner at Work and Play, and he's our trusty MD. We wanted to give you a sneak peek of where all the magic happens.
Thanks, Jess.
And introduce you to some of the amazing people who make your books and albums. Come and take a look.
There we go. So that's how it's done by real people with a bit of help from some serious technology and machines. But I think that's where, Geoff, I'd like you to now just tell everyone how Momento began and a bit about the technology that we use.
These days we have two main kinds of print. We've got an Indigo 7900. That was that big machine in the first shot where the guy didn't show his face and did the sort of the dentist trick. That does all our books and albums, all our books and stationery. All our albums are done on Epson inkjet. We choose the products for their longevity and environmental qualities as best we can. I'm a bit of a tree hugger, so's Lib. So, you know, we always try and bear that in mind, longevity being the most important factor. And for that reason, our albums at the moment are only all on cotton rag. Again, it's about longevity and print quality. The basic journey is that our whole business became possible by allowing you guys to design and upload files that don't need any treatment by us. We can receive a file and print it press ready. And when we began the journey, that was pretty revolutionary. Of course, now that's quite standard and we have many competitors doing it, but that's why we're in the market first. So we built our entire computer system to receive files and send them to print with no human handling at all. Colour management is the other area where, you know, I get to play a lot. It's the bit I enjoy the most, actually. So, you know, learning from where we began with, you know, zero print and colour management to where we are now, worlds apart. But yeah, the entire journey, making sure that everything is correctly colour profiled and profiles are updated regularly. And the files that you send us, that we honour their colour management, and just the processes internally that we have to, sorry, my watch, the process we have internally to not only make sure things are right on the day, but also that after the event, if a customer has a concern or a complaint, that we're actually able to retrospectively bring up a sample from every single order and check it. So there's all processes, you know, that we've established just to make sure that our quality control is the best it can be. Always, though, you know, that things do go wrong. You know, it happens.
Printers can be very print
yes.
equipment, I'm talking.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the print operator, although they can too. But I mean, print hardware can be very temperamental.
Yeah, the Indigo especially is, as I say, it's like an old sports car. You know, some days you jump in, turn the key, drive off, and wind in your hair, looking fabulous. Other days you turn the key and it won't start. You spend the first 4 hours of the day trying to, you know, get the bloody thing out of the garage. So the Indigo's like that. The Epsons are the opposite. They're rock solid and stable and never budge. But yeah, I think that's the focus. It's trying to just make sure that we don't that we don't make it technical for you guys, but in-house, it's all systems trying to maintain quality, and so that if you ever have a problem, we're accountable to it. And, you know, we often reprint if people aren't happy or if we've, you know, spotted something.
Yeah, we're not afraid to say the issue is at our end. If anybody ever does have an issue, they just need to contact us. And as Geoff mentioned, we have this, every page of every book or album that we produce has a swatch page at the front. We keep that, as you said, for a few months, so that if anybody ever receives their book and isn't happy with colour, we can go back and refer to that actual swatch. We will admit, or, you know, we'll happily fix, replace the book or album if the fault is at our end. Otherwise, we'll politely talk you through how you can improve the colour at your end. And that is an art in and of itself. But thanks, Geoff, because you completed the story that I began at the start and failed to finish, which was why we qualified to do this. Yes, we had the technology background, but we were just, you know, photography lovers, not photography professionals. And we didn't know that much about printing.
No.
But what I can tell you is that Geoff, James and our team could write a thesis on, you know, photo book and album production and accurate colour reproduction. And that's what we're known for in Australia. That's what we pride ourselves on and promote about our business. We're very much focused on accurate colour reproduction. And that was, I suppose, proven to us and nicely acknowledged in last year's 2019 Premier Print Awards. This lovely gentleman here, not so pretty, but that's Benjamin Franklin, and he is representing the biggest print awards in the world. The Print Industries of America hosts the Premier Print Awards, and we had no idea. This arrived here last year because we couldn't attend the award ceremony overseas, and this arrived and I had to write and ask them what it actually represented. We discovered that this represented the winner from almost 2,500 entries from 13 countries around the world, and that was the best. It's like the
best in show.
Best in show that you can get, and that was actually based on a photo book that we printed for Peter Eastway. You may know him, landscape photographer, but the important part was that it was produced using our inkjet, you know, the Epson Ultra Chrome inkjet inks. It was printed on 100% cotton rag paper, and each of those pages was sprayed with Hahnemuller archival spray, and that's exactly the same combination that we use for our flush mount albums. So if you're a portrait and wedding photographer who wants to know what is the ultimate, you know, print reproduction you can have in book or album form at the moment, it is those materials combined, and they will give you the longest lifespan available in an album or book on the planet today. But and what we do, just to make that clear when people receive the album, and so you guys can inform your customers, we include this certificate of authenticity in each album. And Geoff, can you just say a little bit more about, because we kind of cringe a little bit when we use and hear the term archival. We actually don't use the term archival very often. We will use it if our suppliers use it.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Unfortunately, most of the companies who make photo books out there, they bandy the word archival around all the time, and most of what they supply is not archival. It's a marketing term. It no longer has a use or a definition.
It's been devalued.
It's been devalued. So we talk very much in-house about permanence and the permanence standards, but the book and albums Lib was talking about, as far as albums go, there is no better. You know, the pages have minimal optical brighteners, the inks are obviously the longest lasting, the coating, all the components that we use to bind the album are all chosen for their longevity. The books are still going to have a very long lifetime. They do not class as archival, I'll say it, I'll put it on record, nor do any of our competitors.
Don't believe them.
Unless you're doing the inkjet on cotton or an equivalent paper. That said, just like the photo that you've got from your grandfathers or their fathers, analog goes down nice and gently over time. A book that we print now will still look fabulous 50, 100 years from now. It'll have acquired maybe a bit of pattern or a little bit of, discoloration. That's just the nature of photo printing. It's always been the case, We've got prints on our fridge that were only printed 5 years ago from a reasonably good lab in Sydney, and they're discolouring. So part of the equation, and this is the thing that most people forget, part of the equation with archival, it's not just the product that we give you and the quality of the materials we give you, it's also the treatment of the product after we hand it over. So a photo pinned on your fridge, it's going to fade, but you're going to get to enjoy it. A collector's, we do some books that are, that we sell for several $1,000s. They're collector's items, and you keep them in a box that's suited to that, keep them out of the bright light. You don't leave them on the coffee table open. So.
And that's what we include on this certificate of authenticity as well. And the reason I want to talk about this is because you don't often hear manufacturers talking about how you quantify or qualify the longevity of your product. It's something that I discovered, care of Geoff, that we use 100% cotton rag as well. And you also mentioned OBAs. Is there anything else you want to say about that? Just so people understand when you are looking at different suppliers, the things you might want to just look a little bit more closely at.
Yeah, so a bright white paper is often really attractive to print photos on. It makes your photos more contrasty, really nice and lively and bright. The paper underneath shines through. But the problem with those papers is they've got brightening agents in them to make them white. The natural paper colour before it's processed is usually quite an off-white. So don't dive for the product that's immediately the punchiest and contrastiest. Check with your supplier, is that paper loaded with OBAs? Is it going to discolour? And it's not even that it's a problem that it will discolour, but the problem you have in books and albums is the discoloration always happens around the edges. And I think it's...
Foxing.
Yeah. So when you open up your album, you'll start to see it encroach from the side. So to avoid that, we pick our cottons and papers to have the minimum possible OBAs. A lot of the commercial work we do, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When people want to make 50 books for an event or booklets for, marketing purposes, that's not an issue.
Because its lifespan is not intended to be a lifetime. It's more of an impermanent kind of product.
But to put all of this in context, a 50-year-old, slightly tattered, well-loved, dog-eared photo book compared to a thumb drive that broke in year 2, that's the comparison we're talking here. A hard disk won't last. A CD, I worked in the music industry for 10 years, and all of the mixes I did were put onto archival, highest quality writable CDs. None of them work now. I've got a CD player.
You still got a CD player? Sorry, I just had a email come through from a client. I shot their wedding in 2010, saying that they've lost their CD and do I still have the photos? So it's a very, very common story. And I wouldn't even have a computer that I can put it into anymore. So
and this is the concern that we have, and you obviously will too. And I feel that all photographers, who call themselves professional photographers, should be concerned about giving their clients a photographic format that they can access for a lifetime, especially if you're talking about wedding and portrait albums. Like we were talking about books for commercial purposes before. They don't have the same emotional, historical, personal value that a wedding album and a portrait album or book have. And we are concerned that there's going to be at least 2 generations that do not have any record, photographic, visual record of themselves or their youth or their family, because people just have digital photos or digital files. I always like to tell this story about, we started in 2004 and we had this, massive, what would you call it, Geoff? What do you call that? A huge start because, we were one of the first, we were the 3rd company in the world actually to produce photo books from what we understand. But then things plateaued. On-demand photo books, I should correct that. But, you know, sales plateaued back in about, what do you reckon?
2008 was a real turning point.
2008, it was the GFC, but...
It also coincided with the iPad.
The iPad, the introduction of the iPad changed the trajectory, the potential for the trajectory of photo book sales in Australia. It was a little bit, they were a bit more progressed in Europe and the US, but it kind of cut things short in Australia. I want to point that out because what we thought we might see is when, you know, especially professional wedding and portrait photographers went, you know, what do we call it? Shoot and burn became the thing. We thought we might see the customer, the end client, print more books with us because we service both the consumers and professionals, but we didn't really see a spike. So what that means is that people just aren't printing their photos. Mind you, I believe there is a renaissance in print that has been happening over the last few years because we can see it here. And I think that's partly because people are becoming more educated and starting to kind of, digital is losing its shine a little. We're no longer starry-eyed about it. We know people can lose their photos, but we've also tried to educate our customers on both the consumer side and the pro side. And that's why we like you guys to know about these terms, archival, museum grade, you know, lifespans, all of these kinds of things. If that is your concern when you select a photo book or album supplier, if longevity and a format that your customer can have for decades, potentially even a century, that's what we're about.
Yeah, another example is that, just to grab any book, we're still the only company who actually stitch. If I really pull the pages apart, deep down in the gutter there, you can see some stitching. See those little stitches in there? So all our competitors that I'm aware of just do what's called perfect binding, which is a glue strip down the side, and then wrap it in a hard case. And perfect binding has a place in the market. I mean, it's usually used for corporate and, yeah, an example.
Here you go, So like a catalogue, more like a catalogue, so your soft cover catalogue.
A magazine binding.
Yeah, but if I was to hold that up.
Yeah, and that is the thing, is that glue tends to age, and you know, we've all had the book where there's a loose page where you have that page fall up. That's called perfect binding. But just wrapping it in a hardcover doesn't mean that the pages aren't going to drop out. But the stitching that we do means that the pages will never fall out. Again, about longevity.
And that's why the royal we yet again, Geoff and, you know, Jess and a few others did intensive research before we brought our flush mount album to market. Geoff, do you want to just grab one while we're there? Maybe, yeah, Lara's is fine. So we were kind of late in bringing our albums to market a few years ago, but that was because we wanted to do as much research as we could, and we knew that if we did introduce an album product, then we were competing with a lot of companies around the world. And one in the US in particular who's very popular with Australians, but we hope to win some of you back to Australian make because we can produce the same, if not better quality. But we knew that we needed to have the same, if not better quality. And our point of differentiation was that we wanted to make something that had a longer lifespan.
And for that particular company especially, we know their papers are quite OBA intensive. So we needed a point of differentiation. We needed to say, how can we not just be another? So, you know, we actually purchased albums from them and dismantled them and studied them and came up with our recipe, which we feel is better.
Yeah, but it was an interesting exercise too, because, you know, cotton rag is, oh dear, Geoff, I need a power cord. Okay, I lost my train of thought there to say cotton rag. Yes, cotton rag. I know. So cotton rag, we all know, is a beautiful material on which to print prints. So most people print exhibition prints or prints for clients, but cotton rag had not been used in book form in a major way until we started investigating this. So in our early tests, we could have beautiful paper and beautiful prints, but if you wanted to fold it in a book, you couldn't get a really sharp crease. Now, some of these other papers that are more synthetic, is that a fair word to use? Yeah. Fold beautifully, but they don't have the same longevity. So we had this massive research task of working with paper mills around the world to figure out what the best cotton rag with the longest longevity was. And that's why the 100% cotton rag means something too, does it not?
Yeah, cotton by its nature has better longevity properties. There are cottons that are full of other products that aren't as good, but pure cotton is definitely better. And we've ended up choosing a product out of Europe. We buy it from England, and we buy en masse a custom format of our own. In fact, I think there's only one other company in the world that uses this cotton. So we definitely found a little sort of recipe that we think is better.
Yeah, and you know, talking to you guys, I imagine that some of you don't use Momento Pro. That's fine, we'll still talk to you. We might win you over by the end of this. But I just want you to be aware of what you're looking for, like what to investigate when you're looking at different suppliers. We may not be as affordable as some of the international brands. However, shipping, you know, has made a difference over the last few years, you know, and also foreign exchange differences. But we can promise you world-class quality from Australia. I did have something else I wanted to add to that. That wasn't just a big plug.
No, can I ask a quick question? I think this is amazing, Aussie made, and I think the COVID especially has brought about, like, we want to keep our money in Australia, and I think it's important. And at Album Readers, that's what we're all about, is definitely promoting our Aussie manufacturers over here as well. I love that you've been so honest about that, because I learned a lot from that I didn't really know, especially about the bleaching as well, and it completely makes sense. Can I ask a quick question? Do you still offer a guarantee on your products as well?
Yeah, we don't have like a lifetime guarantee like some of our competitors, but we don't shy away from replacing products that you know, that are substandard. It's something we've talked about, you know, but it's never become an issue.
Yep.
Because, you know, if people contact us and they're unhappy, then we just act on it.
Yep.
I think that, you know, the guarantee, offering the lifetime guarantee sort of thing, it's a marketing tool.
It is something we've talked about.
Yeah, and rather than, you know, we may introduce one in the future, but bottom line is we put our money where our mouth is, if that's the expression, and if people call up with an issue, we resolve it. So
yeah, we basically run our business the way we would want to be treated as customers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that we are lucky that we have a very loyal following and a good reputation. And on that front, we also have a customer service team that are available to speak on the phone at length. In non-COVID era, you could come into the show, make an appointment to come into the showroom. I do plan to create a video, as I mentioned, with a virtual showroom, you know, session, and you can book virtual showroom sessions with our service staff. So we want you to have the best experience in addition to the best quality.
We've always tried to get our customer service teams to have some photographic experience too, so that, you know, they learn about the books while they're with us, but they already understand the language of a photographer.
Excellent. Just Jessica popped in the chat. I use you for all of my cards.
Oh, beautiful, Jess. I've got some of those to show a little bit later. I wasn't sure if that would be appropriate for this session, but I would like to refer to cards a little bit later when I give you some tips on some sales tips and tools, because I think it's fair to say I hate sales. I couldn't sell anything like a Harvey Norman salesperson ever, but we try and educate our clients on things like we were just talking about, the quality of the materials and the process and what to look for. But I also like to give people advice from having talked to so many photographers over the last 15 years. Are we there yet? We are 15, 16. On what works when they, to allow for easy and seamless sales. And ultimately, I don't like to call it sales, I like to call it education. So, but we'll come to that in a moment, because I remembered what I wanted to say before, which was, we've talked a lot about albums and longevity of materials, but that may not be the driving force in every book or album print that you have to produce. So that's why we still have a very broad range of other products in our photo book range that allow for all different kinds of budgets, because let's face it, not everybody has the same, cash on hand to put towards their photo prints. So people always ask, how much does it cost to make a book or an album with Momento Pro? And you can make a book with us for $5 if you want. You can make an album with us for $5,000. It's all about us giving you the range that you can pick and choose and mix and match to suit your budget, the style of the, your client or whatever the project is. And, once again, I'm not dissing products that don't have the longest lifespan. I just want you to know what that is, what the longest lifespan possible is. Otherwise, just be thoughtful when you're choosing your materials to suit the budget and the client.
And as Lib was saying about picking and mixing and making your own recipe, one thing about our Pro service is it's completely unbranded. So you know some of the other album makers around the world, it's about their brand. But with us, we prefer to make the product about the photographer's brand. So we give you the tools to make sure that your logo appears on there, not the album manufacturers. And essentially Momento, because our Pro range is so different from our consumer range is branded. But our Pro range, none of the customers who have used us for holiday book or something would recognise an album as being made by Momento. They're just too well apart.
And I know Geoff is a very busy man. He is our MD and product manager, and I'm sure you have to go very soon. So
I make Lib's tea.
He does, yeah. But I make his lunch, so
I make her breakfast. Oh, we're a couple, though. That seemed weird. We're business partners and...
Yeah, that's we're explaining.
That's why I make breakfast.
And just so you know, we take it day on, day off for dinner.
Yeah, so we cleared that
up. Before you go, because Geoff, as I mentioned, is the technical brains, but can you just talk, I think now it's important to tell you how you can make or design the books and albums. I mentioned earlier, we have our own Momento Pro software. We created that 15 years ago now. It's great for anybody who just wants a simple design tool to lay out mainly photos on a page. Of course, you can add text, but it's not an InDesign, it doesn't allow for, great complexity in text like InDesign. But we also have other options that are available. I'll show you where to find the design tools on the webpage soon. But as part of the design process, can you talk about what people need to do to ensure they provide us with files that will get the best colour reproduction?
So just quickly, the software is available is ours, which is a good all-rounder. InDesign for people who are designers and want to use InDesign, we have a plugin. You can use Smart Albums, Fundy, or Stomp. So those are the main options, but through all of them, the bottom line is that files that come to us through any of those will be in Adobe RGB, so that if you shoot and edit in Adobe RGB, there's no change there. You will get slightly better results, but ever so marginally, if you do use Adobe RGB over sRGB. Okay, so Lib's just pointing to the colour management. If you go to the...
So you can either go up the top here to our, I just want to go to a homepage so it's really clear where you go. So to get to our design tools and color management, go to the service menu. You can either go to design tools and then down to color management details, or directly from the menu.
So there's a bunch of tips on there about things to look for. It's for most photographers, it's all pretty straightforward stuff, but it's worth just casting your eye over to, you know, make sure there's no surprises. We do provide our ICC profiles. If you want to get really nerdy about it, you can soft proof. But the main thing is we'll accept into our software or any of those other softwares. You can use sRGB or Adobe RGB. We'll handle the rest of the color for you. The Adobe RGB is worth us using because when we print on inkjet, we do get the benefits of the larger gamut. So most of our competitors would take sRGB as it's convenient, and that's fine for indigo prints, but for inkjet prints, it's worth the Adobe RGB. You don't have to change your processes for us though. Continue to do what you're doing. The one thing we would recommend is you don't use ProPhoto for anything you're going to print. It can do nasty things to smooth gradients, such as, you know, blue skies or puffy white clouds or wedding dresses. So go straight from your Lightroom or Capture One to Adobe RGB or sRGB, not ProPhoto. For absolute top best quality photo, you'd go to a TIFF, an LZW TIFF file, but to be honest, 99% of our customers go to JPEG and just turn that quality slider up to the top. The difference is very subtle.
I think that's it. Maybe just one more thing about if any of you out there are graphic designers who are familiar with InDesign, do you think it's worth mentioning the plugin element?
Yeah, the plugin element, the plugin's very simple. It basically is setting the file up for you and exporting the file for you. InDesign, like Photoshop, it's a big beast, and if you're not a regular designer, it's easy to create files that won't print well. So we've made a plugin that you start the journey with our Momento Pro menu in InDesign, and then when you finished your design, you use the Momento Pro menu again to export, and that takes all of the setup and settings that export away from you. So all you need to do is worry about the design of the pages. And you know, it's taken off. It's working really well for us. Yeah. It's actually opened up a whole new audience for us, for people who didn't get enough power out of the other tools we talked about.
And I'm not expecting most wedding and portrait photographers to use that approach, but I do just like you to know about it in case you do. And I'll show you some, just a quick look at some of the other design tools. But at this stage, Geoff, I think you're dismissed for a moment.
So I'll make you a tea and some lunch?
Until Q&A and tea, yes.
Okay, what time shall I come back?
Jannah, what time do you think Geoff should come back in?
Whatever you think. I think, what was the plan? Now we're going to go through albums and photo books, and then so however long. I'm not too sure how long. How long do you?
I'll just give him a hoy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you take the chair so as not to disrupt the symmetry for Jannah, please?
Thank you.
So look, while we're talking design tools, I just want to pop back in and show you the few other options and make sure you are aware of Smart Albums. Smart Albums and Fundy. Now, they're probably the two most popular tools that our customers who are wedding and portrait clients regularly producing albums or books use. If you were to ask me which is best, I can only say that Smart Albums does seem to be very popular, and Geoff did mention that he wished he'd designed it. But he designed Momento Pro 15 years ago that was a bit like Smart Albums was today. So there is all the information that you need to know if you want to design books with Smart Albums and print with us. The beauty for us with Smart Albums is that it's a seamless, once you upload the file, it just goes straight into our production process. So we love that. The only difference is with Fundy is that you have to drop your files because it only produces JPEGs, not a finished PDF file. So you just need to do one more step, which is not complicated and not lengthy, but you have to open the Momento Pro software and automatically import all your JPEGs into the software. So it's one more step. Now, I believe, according to the fabulous Hayley Richardson and Darren Vanderwint of the Beautiful Collective, who we work closely with, Fundy, she believes that Fundy has one added advantage, which is you have more flexibility with looking at the overall storyboarding and moving the pages around, say, while you're doing a client session. But because I am not, you know, so learned in these things, I would like to point you to what I think there are two excellent webinars that we hosted. And I'm not saying that's because I was excellent. I'm saying that's because our presenters were excellent. If you go up to our service menu events, you'll see our webinars there. And the top two, the first two we did were on how to price and sell wedding albums and how to set up a seamless album design workflow, both with the Beautiful Collective. And I believe there is true gold in there, because having dealt with many hundreds, possibly thousands, probably thousands of wedding and portrait photographers over the last 16 years, sadly, I see very few who have really rock solid business models, you know, underlying their business. But Hayley and Darren have always, you know, impressed me with the way they structure their business and also with the money that they can make. They've made $23,000 in print sales with a single client in the past. And I'm not even talking heyday of print era either. And once again, the way they do this is not based on hardcore sales or upselling and things like that. It's about building a genuine rapport with their clients from the moment the client is introduced to them, you know, whether it's on their website, via email or Facebook or social, whatever, but they build a genuine rapport. They genuinely want their clients to have a beautiful photographic product that they can keep for forever and potentially hand on to the next generation. And they educate them on, you know, why prints are important and worthwhile. And yeah, they build a rapport. Anyway, I don't need to do the talking for them, but that because I love their work ethic and their business model, we got them to do these seminars. So please pop in and have a look if you want to learn more. Hales also has some great tips on using Fundy and also on how to deal with clients in COVID era, because one of the big differences in their business, which I think is very, very worth mentioning, is that they always do in-person sales with their client. And that has been one of the major factors in them being able to, you know, inspire larger print sales and more profit. One thing I do want to show you, but they've also adapted, sorry, to finish that, they've also adapted in COVID era to doing virtual sales, and everything else is the same. They just have to learn how to present things to the camera better. And a lot of people have been making videos lately. But I just wanted to show you, this is kind of jumping forward a bit, but it's based on what Hayley and Darren do. But this was a slide that they showed in the presentation on sales, selling albums. And one thing I love, or what they have totally proven in the way they structure their business, is that they have a better lifestyle and make more profit from their business by selling not just their, you know, not just capturing the wedding and handing you a digital file, but by producing the album as well. And they give just some really interesting stats. I'm not going to go through it, but they give some really interesting stats on how you can improve your lifestyle and your bank account by, you know, making albums a part of every client sale, not as an afterthought or an upsell. Okay, so maybe now I'll jump back to, are there any questions at this point, or anything you'd like me to discuss specifically? No, it's all right, because I've got a few other things I was going to tell you if you didn't have any requests.
Nothing so far. It's all looking good.
All right. So I have told you about the design tools, just told you about the color space and color management and that side of things. I've shown you the screen there on benefits, and I suppose I wanted to talk about benefits of albums and book sales. And this actually leads me to another Hayley and Darren story, which is, oh no, I've shut it. You'll have to excuse me just for one moment. I need to open my emails to show you the most beautiful story about a woman called Nonna Connie. Here is Nonna Connie, and I'm going to try and go full screen here. No, I don't think I can I? We'll just stretch it out. So,
can't see that one. You might just need to go back into your share screen options and...
Okay, I'll start sharing, share screen. Nonna Connie, here she is. Okay, so here is the beautiful Nonna Connie, and I just stumbled across Nonna Connie on Hayley and Darren's Instagram feed many years ago, but she's become like a little bit of a pin-up girl for us and for Hayley and Darren, and I would like to think for the wedding photography industry, because Hayley and Darren photographed.
See, darling?
He's such a delight. Photographed Connie's granddaughter's wedding, and they got to talking and realised that they all loved, you know, Nonna Connie loved photographs, and they meant so much to her. So she invited them to her home for homemade limoncello a few months later. And as I say here, she took them for a walk down memory lane, and she pulled out she frocked up. Look at her, she looked gorgeous. That's the only wedding photo she has now from her wedding. And she basically walked them through, she had two. So 1, 2, maybe that's the colour version. I think she had 2 or 3, but she does not have many. But they are her most prized possession. And they've become even more valuable and meaningful to her since her beloved husband Giuseppe passed away. But she took them and walked them through her house and showed them all her photos and her special memories. And I just thought that's why people, and especially photographers, need to realise why it's important to give their customers physical prints. Because, as we were just saying before, you may not even be able to access files that were produced 5 years ago and burned onto a CD-ROM now, let alone in 10 years, 20 years, or when your partner's passed away and you want some memory of them. So Nonna Connie is just the pin-up girl of why printing photographs is important, especially wedding photographs. So that's one of the benefits. You can create lifetime joy for your clients. You also give them a keepsake to pass on. The other point that I won't go into a lot of detail about, but I try and do research into, I want to give you not just, airy-fairy reasons or marketing words on why albums are important. I'll stop sharing that now. But I wrote a blog post last year on our Momentum blog about the improved sense of well-being and identity children have when they see themselves in photographs. So this is, there is scientific research on this very topic. And I know I've just thrown it in there, but I tell you what I'm going to do. If you keep your eye on our newsletters over the next few weeks, I will do a blog post, because I remember now that I did that for our consumer customers, trying to help them understand why it's important to print their memories. But I also think it's equally worthy of sharing with our professional photographers so that you can talk to your customers about these benefits too. So I will put it in a newsletter in the coming weeks and add the blog post to the Momentum blog, where we have lots of stories if you are interested in being inspired by, wedding or portrait album design or, reasons or different things like studio displays. I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit now, but I know that there is another blog post that I wrote in the last year about studio display products. So With Momento Pro, if you're not already aware, when you sign up with us, we assign you a membership level and give you a trade discount on every order that you place. If you are a member of the AIPP or the NZIPP, you enjoy gold membership, and that is 25% off all your orders. We also have 15 and 10% for 20, whatever. We have different ranges, but ultimately you can get 25% discount. We also offer 5 studio display products a year at 40% discount, because our theory is that the best way for you to sell an album or a book is by having copies available for people to touch, because touch triggers a much more intense and emotional response when people touch things. So they'll remember the album too. And I always think people buy what they see. So when you do go to use those 5 studio display product discounts at 40% off is what you will get. Create a range of products, but I feel always show the ultimate option. And I'll show you that show the ultimate option. Get a box, use the prestige mount cover, use the leather material, show them what the ultimate thing is, because people can always think of what is less than that, but they often can't, figure out in their minds what the ultimate would be if you don't show them. So that goes back to the blog post that I have, which I make a suggestion of the best 5 products you could use to show your clients.
Quick question, Libby. Sorry, just had a question here. Are photographers able to share the blog posts on their site as well?
Interesting. Not all of them, but thank you. That is the perfect segue for me to show you our promotional content screen. So I'm going to share screen and go to here we go, to Firefox to show you what I think is one of the best recent additions to our website. Are you seeing the website now? Yep. Okay, so if you go to our services menu and promotional content, this is where we have some gold for you to use. So you're able to use any of these materials, and I might even play some of the videos while we're here, but basically we've got video there that you can show your customers what a flush mount album would look like, different features of the albums, thicknesses of the paper, different kind of cover materials. So they're already made. And then we have Photoshop templates. If you haven't got your kind of photo library or samples all ready to go and you want to add photos to your website, you can use some of our templates here and you can pop your own images into these PSD files. Then we have some lifestyle shots that our friends in New Zealand, Patina Photography, produced and allow us to use. I particularly like this one. This shows you in your session with your client. But in relation to, then some production shots, and I'm actually going to play those 2 videos shortly, but in terms of stories, down the bottom, I should have gone here. This is where Nonna Connie is. So that is the story of Nonna Connie. And yes, you can download. So sadly, Connie actually passed away about 2 months ago. And can you believe the morning that before she passed away, she gave us written approval via her granddaughter to use this however we like. And then she passed away that afternoon. But they're very happy that she's being used to spread the word of the importance of photographs. So you can use the story and images there. I've put a few words together, but I've also included some information at the bottom of the page based on things that Geoff was mentioning and why, about the longevity and quality of our materials. So please feel free to use that. And you know what? I have no problem if you go and use the words at least from our blog post. So up here, you can get to the blog post there. And if I just wanted to see that studio display story that I talked about. There we go. Because albums should be forever. So in this one, I think it might be a bit older than I had initially thought, but the philosophy still stands. But yeah, I just tell you a little bit about you know, some of the combinations that might work for you or just be the most helpful variety of products to use. And then, yes, so if you want to find out more about the studio display discount, you'll find that in our sales tools on our sales tools page. And while we're there, perfect segue to show you, you can buy a swatch box with all of the cover materials. I'll just play that out in a moment to show you. Has all the cover materials and also a sample print of each of the different paper stocks. And if you turn them over, there's the same image on all of them, and you can see how the colors work on different surfaces. And they're really reasonably priced. I think they start at $35. Here's another sales tool that I recommend. You know, word of mouth is the best, I imagine, one of the best sales and marketing tools for you guys. So why not put your logo on the back of every album or book that you produce? You can do that with us too. With that studio display discount that I mentioned before, the only difference in your product is that you get a blind emboss on the back page so it doesn't interfere. And then we have that content for promotional use, that page I just showed you. If you want to share the album design digitally, look, there's probably some more high-tech ways to do it now, but if you wanted, any file you produce with Momento and upload ends up being created as a flipbook, and you can share the code, you know, with your clients. So how about I jump out of that now and just show you the swatch box. Sorry, I've lost my, where is this? Okay. I don't know what's happened. Here we go. I've just got some weird view on my screen. Hold on. Stop sharing. That'll do it. Okay, phew, here you are. Okay, so I just wanted to show you quickly the swatch box comes with all the different cover materials, and just so you know, we have everything from the gorgeous genuine leathers, I'll pull one up closer in a moment, through to faux leather, to silks, to faux leathers. We used to really cringe when we promoted faux leathers because they were gross a few years ago and really plasticky, but now they're really quite stylish and spectacular. So with budget, if your budget is limited, don't diss the faux leathers. We've got some paper materials, metallics, but then I would have to say that the most popular material these days are the linens, very versatile. We also have some, what we call alchemy, so metallic linens, beautiful for weddings, all the way through to your long-standing, traditional and beloved classic buckrams that bookbinders have been using for centuries. And, you know, so that spans a massive price difference there. It's just what you want for your clients and their budget. And as I mentioned, there are paper samples in there, including the 2 different thicknesses of our flush mount albums. So we have 2 different thicknesses in the cotton rag, a 0.6 and a 1.1 mil. And, you know, the reason why you might want to choose the 0.6 mil over the 1.1 is that you can get more pages in your book. So that was the other thing when we brought our albums to market. We wanted to be able to include the most amount of spreads that we were aware of. So you can include 100 spreads with, if you're using the 100 pages, 50 spreads if you're using the 0.6 mil, and you can include 70 pages, 35 spreads if you're using the 1.1 mil. My tip is with the swatch, the cover swatches, if you are going to physically use this in a session, you can use to just take out, just show the ones that you want to show. And I would suggest it even better would be use your studio displays as your tool rather than this. Maybe though you want to show more leathers or whatever, or more linens, but use your physical finished book as your first option. And just to show you an example of the custom emboss stamp that I showed you on the sales tool page, that's like the Beautiful Collectives version on the back of their album there. Any questions on that front? No?
I have a quick question. Sorry, the embossing, is there extra cost involved with that as well?
Yes, thank you. That's a fine point. Yes, there is. And it used to be a lot more expensive than it is now, but we've figured out a new way to do it because we wanted the really deep inset. So we use a metal plate that's like 3 mil thick, and they're more expensive than some of the just kind of printed embossing. I think it starts around $60 for the plate, but I can show you by sharing screen. It's probably most beneficial if I show you online, and will refresh my memory. So if we go to custom emboss prices, view prices, it's going to ask me to log in. I knew you would. Damn it. I'll come back to that. All right.
No worries.
I'll come back to that.
Is it like a one-off setup, fee, and then every time, or is it just a kind of?
Sorry, yes. It's based on, for each design, whether it's your logo or maybe for the front of a book, like this one here. You know, you might want to do a custom design for the front of a wedding album. You just have to pay for that custom embossed stamp once, and then each time you do it, I think it's $10 for the stamp. So yes, so you pay for the physical stamp, and then each time it's embossed. Okay, so benefits, profit. I think I've talked you through most of those, the tips. Oh, there is one other tip that I would like to make about inspiring album sales. And it's an interesting one given the COVID era, and one we promoted earlier this year, which is go back to your clients from the past 1 to 10 years, because I strongly believe, go back to them with an album or a photo book offer, because I strongly believe that most of them have not printed or a high proportion of them have not printed their photos, whether they're wedding or portrait. So if they haven't printed them now, and you give them a great, reason to, good offer, then I think you'll get quite a few people take up the offer. I did mention that in our webinar that we hosted with Hayley and Darren earlier this year, and somebody wrote back to me the week or two after and said, I've had 3 people, 3 past clients within a week or whatever had said yes. So don't hesitate to do that. And, that could be very helpful during COVID era or when in quiet seasons as well. So always consider that. Look, I think that's about it on the sales and book tips. Do you want me to show you anything more closely on the album front? Like just pull one over so you can see it? Or even better, I'll show you a video. Okay, I'm going to show you the videos because they'll do it much better. 1 second. So this one here. And this is one that you guys can use and download from promo webpage. So that's just short and sweet, but so that is showing the features of the albums. And then this one is showing you how we actually, oh no, I know where it is. I need to show you on, can you see the web page now? No, I need to stop.
No, you're still on your, if you need to share your screen again.
Let Let me just stop sharing, start sharing. So this is one on the web page. Down the bottom here, that was the one we just watched, but down here is a time lapse of just how much effort goes into the albums as well, into the creation. So sorry, that was a very abrupt ending. I haven't figured out how to do a really seamless end. But you get the idea. There's a lot of effort that goes into the creation of the albums. And just for comparison's sake, here is the creation of a book. And these are ones that are available for you to have. There we have it.
Libby, Marion just mentioned that she loves the production videos, and I was about to say the same thing as well, because it actually shows the client, like, because I guess if you don't understand it, it's almost like, you know, if I had to kill a beast in order to eat meat, I probably wouldn't do it. I probably wouldn't eat meat at all. So the being able to show that to a client really does show that value and explains the value that this is handmade.
Totally agree, and I want it to be easy for you guys to be able to say, you know, this is why they do cost money, because, you know, there is so much handiwork, and that, you know, the custom logo is the part that we saw a lot of in that, and that's because that does take so much time and effort, but still it is very manual, and we choose to have, you know, we need to keep things efficient to be affordable for you guys, but we still want to keep the best of the handcrafting elements involved as well. So please feel free to share that video, and you might like to know too that we have 12, probably nearly 13 staff who've been with us for over 10 years now, throughout production, all throughout the business, but they have some serious, you know, expertise and skill in that area, and, you know, they do put a lot of love into it. It is the most beautiful thing to watch, the albums and the books being made down in the bindery. So yeah, please share it. But I think that's pretty much what I needed to show you, other than one screen that will show you the special offers that we have for Fundy and Smart albums, if you would like to use them. We're not allowed to share them publicly, but we're allowed to share them, you know, in events and things like this. So just let me show you. This is what I wanted to show you. So there we go. View screen. Are you guys seeing that?
I'm seeing something. Oh.
Smart albums and Fundy? No, I knew I did that incorrectly. Hold on. Start screen. Here we go. This is what we want. Are you seeing that?
Yes, we are.
Yes, so I just contacted them in the last few days before today, so that we could put up the latest offer available there. And, you know, they're both great tools. And if you're going to regularly make albums or books, then I wouldn't suggest you use Momento Pro, because you will find that Smart Albums and Fundy are much more powerful and have more tools, you know, to help make it efficient. They also have great tools for, you know, working with your clients and showing the clients the album as well.
Fantastic. I'll share those via email to everyone as well with those codes as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. But did anyone have any questions?
Can I have a comment on with the Fundy and Smart Albums thing? Libby, I was using Fundy for years and I was really happy with it. Definitely did everything I needed to do, made it super easy to design albums. That was the only reason I used it for. It does have a whole host of other things you can use it for. And I loved at the time too that it was just a one-time payment. And then, yeah, Smart Albums came on the market and I resisted that for a while because I was perfectly happy with Fundy. But I did eventually try Smart Albums, and it's hard to exactly nail it down, but as happy as I was with Fundy, it still just made it that little bit, I don't know, quicker, easier. I mean, they both do a really good job.
Kat, was it easier in the design and layout phase or in the communicating with your client about the design phase, or both?
A bit of both, probably more the latter, but
okay.
Yeah, a bit of both. And like you were saying before with the, you know, showing the full layouts and reordering the spreads and things, you can do that in Smart Albums. It's just smaller, I guess. So that's the issue.
Cool, thank you. Because I wanted to know, I really need to go back and have a look at the webinar again that we did with Hayley and Darren, because Hales does talk about it, but she's a graphic designer by trade. So she's used to storyboarding and, you know, that's a big thing for her. But thank you. So what you're saying is that the difference is that Smart Albums have the ability to see the whole storyboard, but it's in a smaller view. And is that also when you're in the kind of mode where you're talking to clients? Do you have the ability when you're talking to clients and they say, oh no, I want this spread here or there? Can you do that in Smart Albums?
Yeah, you can shuffle them around. Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly not an expert, but the way I use it, yeah, it comes up in a panel on the right-hand side. So that's sort of, yeah, it's more sort of thumbnail rather than full screen layouts. Does that make sense? Obviously, you've got the layout that you're working on and you can, you know, swipe as such or click through those. But in terms of seeing everything at once, it's there, but it's just a bit smaller than it is in Fundy. Okay,
cool. That's good for me to finally get in here.
But it's worth checking out both. I'm pretty sure you can try both.
Exactly. And do you know what? If you do want to do the shortcut to trying out both, honestly, go and have a look at the how to design and the workflow album webinar that we did with Hayley and Darren, because they make 2 albums in the seminar, one that's with Fundy and one that's with Smart Albums.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Have we wowed you?
Excellent. You have. Excellent. Did anyone have any other questions? Jess says, yes, you have wowed her.
Oh, good. Good to hear, Jess. I might just come out of this mode now because I can't see you properly. 1 second. Here we go. Stop sharing. There we go. I wanted to see the menu. Yeah, look, if you guys do have any other questions, though, just call our service team. They happen to be 3 women at the moment who are, 2 of them are photographers, and one of them has been with us for 6-7 years. You know, you can tell them what your business is like, what you're aiming to achieve, what kind of budget you have, and they can help guide you down that path. So, yeah. Feel free to give them a call or to organise a virtual showroom, but you probably don't need to now, or just drop them an email.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Libby. That was awesome. We've got lots of resources there as well that I'd love to be able to share out.
I will definitely send some stuff to you on that front, because I think it's important to just, I want people to have the tools, and I don't mean just the, you know, the tools to design, but the statistics and information and reasons why albums and books, or basically just photo prints, are important.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you everybody else for making the time to come along as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Excellent.
And I'll